Welcome everybody on the day after the NXT Vengeance Day. We are here on episode number 46 of the Wrestling Fans Insight. I am your host, John Hoppy, and returning with us after a 1-week hiatus, Heather. Heather, how's it going today?
Going pretty good, despite my soap opera of life. But I'm glad to be back.
Well, everything's a soap opera with what we're doing here, so you just love the real life of it, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we have Carlos also with us. Carlos, how you doing, buddy?
Good. Happy Sunday, everybody. Feeling good. It's been so far so good. Can't complain.
And you're not hearing it, and you're hearing that correctly, if that's one of the biggest ironies. We're without William today. He's kind of got some personal issues going on. Plus, he's without a vehicle, so he had a hard time getting things working well for him this weekend. So we'll look forward to having him back next week with us. And we might be recording a little earlier due to the Super Bowl. I'm not sure yet. It's just going to depend on how our schedules kind of work well with each other. So,
what's the Super Bowl?
Oh, wow.
I can't wait for the Super Bowl because the Eagles, yes.
Well, I guess Heather's not biased for this year, is she?
I predict that a black quarterback's going to win the Super Bowl this year. That's my prediction.
You think what?
That a black quarterback's going to win the Super Bowl this year. That's my prediction. Going off on a limb.
Well,
I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, there's 2 black quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. That's that first. I think it's awesome.
Oh, yeah. I guess I never paid attention to that part.
Yeah.
I guess you can say I'm a bad monkey now for the NFL following. So, well, but at least it's better than the 49ers options right now. So, yeah,
they got options though. They're on their DL, but they're IR, but they still got a lot of options.
Yeah, that was just terrible. I felt bad for those guys. Not one real true quarterback was active, and yeah, that kind of hurts. But I'm not gonna say that the Eagles didn't deserve to go there. I mean, they still won. But in fairness, yeah, 49ers were definitely not at full force. So. But
I think with sports though, I think some things are just meant to be though, and I think it was just meant to be the Eagles' year.
Right.
That's what I think.
Right. I think so many people discredit the Eagles getting there, and I kind of understand some of that view, but it's not like they planned it.
No, and the thing is, look, if you think about it, they played in a division where 2 other teams made the playoffs. Hello, they earned their spot.
Yeah, they did, and I want to give a special shout out to one of my friends out there, at Spencer Smith. I think it's MU on Twitter. He's diehard Eagles fan, so I'm kind of rooting for the Eagles for his case, just because I shouldn't say just because I've already seen the Chiefs win a Super Bowl, so of course I have seen the Eagles win one too. That was when Nick Foles actually filled in and they defeated the Patriots. That was probably
we don't talk about that one.
Yeah, that one I was jumping for joy only because it was kind of rebellious against my cousin who's a huge Patriots fan, but I still love my cousin.
I want to give a shout out to my friend Mike. He's Philly Kid. He's Philly Kid 42 on Twitter, and he's a big wrestling fan and Phillies fan. So I'm rooting for the Phillies for him too. So.
Oh, awesome! So, anyhow, well, let's go ahead and get right into our wrestling segment. Everyone's like, wait a minute, is this the Wrestling Fans Insight or the NFL Insight here? So, no, you have tuned into the right podcast. We're happy you're here to listen to us, and we're going to get right to it. We're going to go with pretty much the same format as last week. We're going to go ahead and start with AEW. For Dynamite, the results: Jon Moxley defeats Hangman Adam Page in what was one hell of a match. The Acclaimed defeated, I didn't catch their actual names, But I'm just going to go with what Max Caster called them.
Oh, that was such a great line.
The Acclaim defeated the bootleg Beverly Brothers. I could not stop laughing at that. I'm like, oh, that was so true. And then we have Nosuke Takeshita defeating Brian Cage. Sorry, Carlos.
No!
Bryan Danielson defeats Timothy Thatcher in the TBS Championship, which they need to have a rematch on this one. Jade Cargill defeats Red Velvet, and in the no holds barred for the TNT Championship, Samoa Joe once again TNT champion after defeating Darby Allin. And then for the Rampage opening match, the Trios Championship, the Elite retain against the team of Ethan Page, Matt Hardy, and Isaiah Cassidy. Swerve Strickland defeats Brian Pillman Jr. The team of Tony Storm and Saraya defeat the Renegades. And Roosh defeats Christopher Daniels. And why don't we go ahead and, since she's returning, let's start off with Heather on this one.
Here's 10 minutes of Moxley. I mean, hey, okay.
Yeah, the Moxley and Heyman match, that was a killer match. Like, of course I love Moxley anyway. But yeah, that was a killer match. Just like when Moxley was standing up on the apron and Heyman just threw the chair at him, and he was just like just trying to knock it off him. But you can tell it knocked the hell out of him. Like the whole match was just brutal. Like of course every Moxley match is, but yeah, it was a really good match. And then the Takeshita and Brian Cage, I loved that match too. Takeshita is just awesome, like him coming and getting on AEW and wrestling like he is, and just everybody just really into him and stuff. And Brian Cage, yeah, he's a beast. Of course they call him the Machine, and I see why, because he is killer. And he's killing it too. And I'm not really familiar with Timothy Thatcher, but I'm sure he's special, because everybody was, when he was fighting Bryan Danielson, everybody was like, oh, Bryan Danielson was fighting Timothy Thatcher. And I went back and I kind of looked over some of his matches and stuff, and he lives up to his name of they call him the submission specialist. What was that move that he did? I forget the name of it. That submission hold that he did.
The chicken wing?
Is that what it is?
I know that's one of his moves. He's a submission specialist though.
Yeah, it was. Sorry,
I don't remember.
Well, he kept grabbing his arm and twisting it around.
I think it's a chicken wing thing.
Yeah, it was
the chicken wing thing.
It was a modified version of the chicken wing that Bob Backlund used to use back in the day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was like he kept grabbing Brian, and he had to hurry up and get out of it, because it was like he can't keep you in that, because he can get you. That match I thought was pretty good too. And the Red Velvet and Jade Cargill, no, Red Velvet really won that match, because the ref was like knocked out or whatever. Of course, they gave Jade Cargill the win because she had to get the 50-0. And then the Samoa Joe and Darby Allin putting his body on the line as usual. He don't care. He'll die if he has to. But Samoa Joe got the victory because he's just a joke. So, and I really wanted Darby Allin to lose the belt, but there we are. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good show overall.
And nothing for Rampage?
Oh, good Lord, Rampage, sorry. I kind of like forget that show because it's like so short. But I don't know. But yeah, the Elite versus I call it the Firm, because I know it was Matt Hardy and Isaiah Cassidy, and it was Ethan Page. Is that who it was?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. That was a pretty good match. But I don't know. I don't like Ethan Page, and yeah, so that I'm just being me. Yeah. I'll just tell you, I don't like him, so I don't like him.
You stabbed me in the heart twice.
And Brian Pillman Jr. versus Swerve. I can't stand Swerve. So that's just another thing. I don't like the way he turned on Keith Lee, and then whoever these guys is, he's with, which I know Parker Burdett, who the other guy is. I really don't like the whole new thing that he's got going on. The match wasn't really nothing to me. I didn't think it was a good match. Tony Storm and Saraya versus the Renegades, I thought it was good. The Renegades did get a good job. They gave them a run for their money. But then, of course, Tony Storm and Saraya won out. Christopher Daniels versus Roosh, excellent match. They both really showed out. And Christopher Daniels did a good job, and then he come up short. But he really did a good job. And there you go.
Wow. She didn't miss a step, did she, Carlos?
Is it my turn?
Yeah, go for it. Your turn.
Man, I mean, my heart's broken. Tate Swerve, hates Ethan Page. I'm like, I guess she gave kudos to the Machine, so I guess for there. But my gosh, my heart's just hurting right now. I gotta say though, if you hate a heel, they're doing the job right. So I'll take it as that, So I think that's a good thing. So again, for me, Moxley and Hangman delivered. I think the good thing about this feud and the good thing about this match is and again, kudos to both of them, is I want to see them fight at Revolution. It's not like where Jericho and Ricky Starks, I'm like, God, can we just get this over with? I believe with Mox and Hangman, I could see them do a best out of 7, and I could see them fight every week up to Revolution, because they just both bring it, and they don't hold back, and they're hard hitting, and they're being stiff, and again, I appreciate that about both of them. And again, it makes you not. I don't see either one being a heel, but it's they both just are being real men, and we sometimes we're not going to get along, and I just love the brutality of the match. I too I wrote down bootleg Beverly Brothers. I thought was really funny. I'm not ready to see the Acclaim drop the titles. And again, if I don't get to see them at Revolution, I might be burning down the Chase Center. So let me just tell you, Tony Khan, you might want to make sure they're on the card. So or at least I'll get to see them in Sacramento. But I feel like Daddy Ass is going to turn. I just feel like you can see it a mile away, and I don't like it. I feel like I'd rather see his sons earn his respect without their dad, and I just feel like it's too soon to take the titles off of them. And honestly, this feud doesn't really interest me. I'd rather see the Acclaim fighting a heel Lucha Brothers. Konosuke and Brian Cage delivered. Again, I feel like I'm going to take this opportunity to make the Machine Brian Cage an honorary member of the Banger Bros, because he just delivers banger after banger after banger after banger. So he can be the AEW wing of that. Because he's literally just wrestling the best matches of his life. And again, I've been a fan since Lucha Underground, and the first time I saw him, I was infatuated with him, and the fact that he's from Chico again just was double points. But for me, if he's gonna sign, I hope that he signs with the hope of he's gonna be getting put over instead of being like the Dolph Ziggler of AEW. The one thing for me though is I want him to stay there, because I feel like he's better utilized in AEW, Ring of Honor. I feel like WWE wouldn't really let him utilize all of his move repertoire, and so I hope he does stay. Bryan Danielson and Timothy Thatcher, it was my least favorite match of the series of matches with Bryan Danielson, and I do love Timothy Thatcher. Again, he's from the 916 Sacramento, so they're he's another California boy. But for me, I just felt like the match, just compared to the other matches, it just wasn't my favorite. It was still a good match, but again, it wasn't my least favorite. I hope this leads. I hope I get to Takeshita. I hope him helping Brian leads to him joining the BCC when Brian and them get back together. Jade and Red Velvet was a great match, and again, I just love seeing how aggressive Red Velvet was with that match. And again, I think that the people who can bring out a good match in Jade need to be commended, and so I give that to Red Velvet for bringing that good match out of her. That was definitely, and again, I just love how she was just going at it, how aggressive she was. That was definitely my favorite Red Velvet match. And I put that right up there with Jade's match with Sky Blue that she had a few months ago, or on Rampage. They're both just really good matches. I think she just works better with a shorter girl, and again, just someone who can just let her be aggressive. Again, it was a good match for her. It was a good match for her 50th. I feel like they should have left time for a celebration, though. Again, that's one of the things where maybe, AEW's Dynamite's a little too hard because, you're going to have these celebrations when she was like 39-0 or she went for pay-per-view. I feel like there should have just been a celebration for her 50th win. The main event for Darby and Joe was awesome. Like Heather already said, Darby can take a beating. I just wish they wouldn't have took the belt off of Darby. I wish they would have left it on him to lose to hopefully to Powerhouse Hobbs at Revolution. But I also heard that he's taking time off to go record some stuff off that or some TV show or something. So I get it. But again, I love Darby as TNT champion. I think he shines best, and it's like he's definitely one of those guys you give the ball to and he's going to run with it. And I love Samoa Joe. Again, I'm glad that WWE thought Samoa Joe was washed up because I love the AEW Samoa Joe. I just love his ring psychology. Just wrapping the towel around his arm to go get Darby. And also I love the psychology of the match. People say there's no storytelling, but basically Darby, everything that Darby did to get Joe turned backfired on him in that match. The table, the thumbtacks, the ring. And he ended up taking everything that he was trying to plan for Joe. So I just thought that was really well done. As far as Rampage goes, I wish they wouldn't cut the opening. I wish they wouldn't start with the competitors in the ring for the opening match. Because again, we all know that it's taped, but it feels so taped when they do that, and especially when you're licensing Wayward Son for the Elite. Like let me see that opening. It was a fun match. Again, I love Ethan Page. I'll love him doubles for Heather's hate. I think he's a great heel. And he's a self. And again, I like a self-made person. I love his blogs. He gives back to the community. He shines. He helps all these other things. He helps his fellow competitors. Like he just does a lot for the wrestling community. And I think he's a really stand-up guy. And again, he's the kind of guy that I want to see succeed in the wrestling business. And I'm just really glad to see him being utilized more on AEW Dynamite and Rampage. And for me, again, it was a good week for me because again, I got between Dynamite and Rampage, I got to see all my favorite wrestlers. So that was really good. Poor Isaiah Cassidy, dude, that guy took a beating too, man. He's like Darby too. I mean, when he got the double kick and stuff, I'm like, oh my good V trigger. I mean, good Lord. I want to see House of Black move away from Eddie Kingston. I want to see them go for the Elite and Trios titles at Revolution. So I hope that between now and then that they sum up this thing because I feel like the House of Black versus the Elite's the match I want to see for the Trios titles at Revolution. For me, with Swerve and Brian Pillman Jr., I like Swerve as a heel. Again, I think he's one of the top heels in AEW. My thing, though, is I don't feel like he should need the moguls to beat Brian Pillman Jr. And for me, I don't know if you guys watch Dark or Dark Elevation, but Arn Anderson's been with Brian Pillman Jr. On Dark, and he's forming a tag team with Brock Anderson, like kind of like a Horseman tribute thing. And so I wish that they would just continue that storyline on TV. Like I don't understand why Arn wasn't with him out there this week. Again, if you're going to go that way, especially if you're going to take him away from I forget his other tag team partner. I'm having a mind part, the Varsity Blondes guy. If you're going to take him away from that, like at least have Arn Anderson be with him there, on TV. Again, I'm tired of seeing the Renegade Twins insert here for tag team to get beat. But again, I love seeing Tony and Saraya as heels. Again, I think they made the right turn in making them both heels. So they both play a bitch really well. But again, for me, like the Renegade Twins are better as heels too because they do that twin magic where they switch partners underneath the ring and stuff. So I don't want to see them as faces. I want to see them as heels. And again, if AEW is not going to sign them, then NXT should get on the phone and sign them for a tag team. Rush and Daniels, Christopher Daniels was a really good match. Again, Rush is one of those guys too, where I want to see him go on a winning streak too because he's in great shape. And again, I want those Hispanic stars to shine. My one complaint though, and I'm going to say this, I don't like how Rush got one suitcase of money and is getting possibly 5 more, and all Brian Cage got was one stack of money. So I'm not happy about that. But that's all I got for AEW.
I kind of feel you're a little biased on that situation.
Bias? A wrestling fan bias? What are you talking about? Well, no, I mean, come on. I mean, he's getting. I mean, I guess it's good that the Mexicans getting the more money. I mean, I guess that's a good look for culture. But I'm like, Brian Cage has got $10,000, and then Rush is getting like $150,000 with the promise of 5 more suitcases. Like, damn, what's up with that?
Well, and I hope Mike Rotundo was paying attention there because everybody's got to pay their taxes. So
that's why he has his bank account in Mexico. What are you talking about? Taxes.
Yeah,
skip the border and go deposit in Mexico. What are you talking about?
we need somebody to be hanging around the border there to kind of check those transfers and shit like that. So
how dare you? we'll just sneak it across. We'll sneak it across the border in an ice cream truck. What are you doing Thursday?
here we go. Here we go. Jeez. Anyhow, yeah. I thought John Moxley and Adam Page was a great match. However, I think that is the one match I think, and I can't believe I'm actually going to say this.
Watch it.
I think that match should have went to a time limit draw. I mean, I don't think we should have had a decisive winner because, like you, Carlos, I want to see them fight it out at Revolution. I think it would be a killer match between the two, but there's got to be some kind of gimmick in that match to kind of make it of a final deal.
Maybe Hangman gets one more win and they're 2-2, and then maybe they do like a Texas Bull Rope match or something. You know, they can't. I would love to see a dog collar, but there's been too many dog collar matches.
Yeah,
but maybe the Texas Bull Rope match would be a good one.
Yeah,
maybe they got attached. Maybe I think all four corners, that'd be kind of exciting to see.
The dog collar match is kind of overstayed its welcome.
Yeah,
Texas Bull Rope,
Texas Bull Rope,
or a four corners match, or a steel cage match.
People, yeah.
You know, just as long as it's not like a, what was that, orange mimosa match or whatever the hell that was. Oh, that was terrible.
We're gonna be getting Cinnamon Toast Crunch bowl match at WrestleMania, you know. So come on now.
Yeah, I hope not. The Acclaimed versus the Bootleg Beverly Brothers. It wasn't the greatest, but it was a nice way to kind of get the ass boys out there to, you know, set up a match. But much like Carlos, I think it's pretty obvious we're going to see Billy Gunn turn on the Acclaim, or somehow in the storyline say it was a setup all along, that it was to get, you know, power of attorney for the Acclaim, you know, to say, hey, I can approve title matches for these guys, you know. I think that's kind of the direction they're going to go with the whole match. However, I hope the Acclaim retain, but I somehow see the Gun Club walking away with the championships when it's said and done, and who knows, maybe the Acclaim will regain them after a rematch. It definitely is going to be an interesting storyline as it progresses. Takeshita and Brian Cage, I loved the match. It was killer. I almost would say that's one I wish those two could have fight forever on, because Brian Cage has become one hell of an improved talent over the years. And I think we're going to hopefully see him have a good singles run if he can break away from the Gates of Agony on the Ring of Honor six-man tag division. The TBS, I guess I should say, Bryan Danielson, Timmy Thatcher, I thought it was a solid match. Nothing very wowing. It's kind of flattening because of how long it's going to take before we see Danielson take on MJF for the AEW Championship. But the good thing we got out of this was when Takeshita came in to save the interference from MJF on that match, we now have a championship eliminator match between MJF and Takeshita, which I think that could almost be a pay-per-view match in itself in the near future, too. Takeshita has really kind of taken the hearts of many here in the U.S., and I think we're going to see future world champion out of that guy, no matter which promotion it is. The TBS Championship, thought it was awesome. I loved the deception of Red Velvet. Well, technically Red Velvet had the win, but because of Kiera Hogan's interference, it kind of costed her friend on that one. I would like to see a rematch between the two. I love the aggression that we saw out of Red Velvet, much like Carlos said earlier. I thought basically both women had their best match to date because of that. In the no-holds-barred match, Samoa Joe defeating Darby Allin was actually my shocker of the week. I was really hoping Darby was going to retain it. However, with Wardlow coming out after the match, I think it's pretty clear and evident we're going to be seeing Wardlow get his revenge over Samoa Joe. So, going into Rampage, my thoughts, Trios Championship, solid match. Didn't hate it, didn't love it. I think there could have been more out of the two teams for sure. even though it looked like they gave their all. And just, I don't know, there just didn't seem to be some kind of entertainment value for me in that. The Swerve Strickland and Brian Pillman Jr. match felt was just a little bit sloppy. I think Brian Pillman was a little slow with his, I guess you can say, transitions of movesets. It just, he looked a little bit off, and I really hope he continues to improve, but I don't hate the idea of him being in Arn Anderson's faction. I really would like to see something similar to like another Four Horsemen, but I mean, you're never going to get the exact Four Horsemen we saw back in the 80s and 90s for sure. Tony Storm, Saraya versus the Renegades. I'm with both of you on that. I think the Renegades are not being used the right way. They should not be a jobber team on TV. These two need to have something going for them. Although we see them getting some wins on Dark, bringing them to TV to just keep losing is not ideal. So we really need to see Tony do something better with those two. Roosh and Christopher Daniels. Great match. Christopher Daniels, as old as he is, well, I shouldn't say as old, but as great as he is in the ring still. I don't know. I hate to keep seeing him being used as like a kind of like a
glorified jobber. He's a glorified jobber.
Yeah, glorified jobber. Thank you. I just don't like that. I mean, the guy deserves better than that, or keep him behind the scenes working with the talent like he has been. It kind of felt like he was only used because I think the Jericho Cruise is going, and they didn't really have anybody set up for Roosh. So,
I feel like we're seeing this. I feel like we're seeing the same thing. Sorry to interrupt you. I feel like we're seeing the same thing in AEW, where like all the guys who helped build the company, like back in WWE, back in the day, the guys who built it are kind of getting the short arm now.
Well, in fairness, though, we're starting to see the women's division kind of take that over, which is a little odd because you would think they would do it with the men first, with Saraya and Tony Storm. It's going to be interesting to see which way Ruby Soho goes toward. I'm thinking she'll be more AEW. I think we see at some point Sheeta align with the AEW originals. However, I'm kind of thinking Tony Khan might have some surprises up his sleeve on who joins Saraya and Tony Storm.
Money.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, I think it would be awesome to see Mercedes Moné come in, but who would also join that faction?
I think you could put Serena Deeb with them. I think you could put Ruby with. I would put Ruby with them. I think Ruby could be good as a heel. There's different women. I mean, Tony Storm. You could also turn Thunder Rosa heel too. You could always do that too.
Ooh, that's a good one.
If they brought in what's her name? The one from Impact Wrestling, Deonna Purrazzo.
Yeah, I don't know though. That one, she was only at WWE for a cup of coffee though. So I don't know if you could. I don't know if that would be a good.
I mean,
move.
he could go get Mandy Rose. You get Mandy Rose. You get Ruby to join them with Mandy Rose, and then with Mercedes. There you go, right there. That's a spot.
Yeah. I mean, how long's Mandy been gone from WWE? Do we know?
A couple months, I think, like 2 months now. I mean, she got fired. I don't think she had a 90-day. I think I remember seeing something about that.
Oh, really? Because I thought no matter what, they were all on 90-day after the whole Aleister Black whoops.
Oh yeah, well they probably I think it's been 2 months now.
Oh wow, yeah. So, that will definitely be interesting if that happens. I think that would be one hell of a pickup for AEW.
But I don't think Mandy Rose is studying no wrestling, though. Not right now. Not after all the money he's making.
Well, but if Tony Khan lets her keep doing that, she has nothing to lose, and she has everything to gain by keeping her name in the wrestling business. If Tony Khan comes off her $1 million contract, why wouldn't she do it?
Well,
yeah,
I don't think
I
Tony
can
Khan
see
cares
that.
about that stuff.
well, yeah. Keep in mind,
Yeah.
Tony Khan doesn't hold them for doing things outside the promotion
exactly.
either. So
Yeah.
it's a win-win for Mandy Rose if she decides to sign something with AEW, whether it's long-term or short-term. You know, I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
I thought that whole situation was just shitty. Like, with her getting fired and everything. Like, it just, like, I just couldn't believe it.
I think she wanted to get fired. Is my opinion. I think she wanted to get fired to prove a point because they gave her the chance to take it down and she wouldn't do it. And I think she did it to prove a point because I think she did it in a way like what I think she's doing what Mercedes is doing right now in a way. She's fighting for the women in order to be able to maximize themselves and make more money and get paid. Because just to show, she was on a regular talent contract in NXT, and on a main roster contract, and just to show how the women can still go a long ways to getting paid up to what the men are getting paid. I think she's doing it for a reason.
Well, and a good way to go is if they do sign Mandy Rose. Think of how Saraya went when she was Paige in WWE. And what was it? Was it Twitch? I can't remember which social media it was, but WWE was hounding all the talent for using one of the newer platforms. It
was Twitch. It was Twitch.
Yeah, it was Twitch. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they were hounding the talent to shut down their Twitches. I think AJ Styles and CJ Perry, also known as Lana.
Yeah.
Those were the first two that kind of bowed down, but Paige stood her ground on that one.
Yeah, she did.
And I think that would be a good storyline if AEW signs Mandy Rose. That would be one way to say, hey, look, we were tired of all the bullshit. We're the originals. We're coming in here doing things our way. We're not being held down anymore.
They should bring her in with the Iconics.
Ooh. That would be another good signing right there as well.
Oh, I love those girls. Oh my gosh.
As annoying as they play on TV, they are awesome.
They're awesome.
Yeah. I think that would definitely be one hell of a good thing right there going for AEW if they were to pick up at least 4 or 5 of those girls. It would be awesome.
Yeah, the only thing with Mandy Rose is there's going to have to be some feelings that are mended because her husband's the one that basically Tino or her fiance.
Yeah,
that's the guy who freaked out. So they're going to have to mend those fences. But other than that, make it work.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure if the money's right, anything's going to work.
Yeah.
So, yeehaw.
I approve of Wardlow's new haircut, by the way. Yeah, that'd be like.
Oh, you finally found it in yourself to accept the short hair.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, this is looking good.
I was gonna say, as a guy who shaves his head, I've been okay with it.
Right? Yeah, and I'm like, oh yeah, it looks good. He looks like a movie star now. I'm like, oh hello.
I think he could make any hairdo look good is the problem.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
All right. Well, did you guys have any do you guys have anything further for AEW this week?
Oh, one thing I hope we're going to see Saraya versus Jamie Hayter at Revolution. I think that'd be a fun women's match.
For the championship?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope Jamie Hayter actually holds on to that championship. To be honest, she's been red hot with the fans, so I don't see a sense to changing the championship yet. However, things can happen in a hot minute anywhere, so...
Yeah, but I don't see the point either, but if Saraya took it off of her, that would add so much heat to that faction, though. That's one thing you got to consider.
That's true.
No, I think Hayter needs to keep it for a while, and for Saraya to just come back and to get about that quickly, I don't think that would look good.
Well, that or what we could do is we could have Tony take back the women's championship, and Saraya take the TBS championship, and have all the AEW originals unite and have an ass-kicking storyline going on right there.
Yeah, the thought of Jade and Saraya wrestling scares me though. I feel like Jade might hurt her. Like I don't. That's like not a match I want to see.
Oh,
if I'm being honest.
Wait a minute here. Wow.
I'm just being honest. Hey, I'm just keeping it real. Keep it 100.
Jade
Sorry,
would
Conan.
make her.
You just did me
Yeah,
dirty.
yeah. Well, I think it sounds like a good match, but I mean, I'm just fearful of that. I'm just fearful. Like, I'm like, man, I don't know if I trust, because Jade's still green a little bit. She's only had 50 matches in her career.
Well, though, she has improved, though. I mean...
Oh, she has for sure, but you always worry about injuries and stuff like that, you know?
Oh, well, and that's the thing. Injuries can happen at any time with anyone. It doesn't matter how good you are in the ring.
Yeah.
There's...
But I guess good.
It's just going to happen. I mean, nobody's perfect. I mean... But you do have to make sure you protect your opponent at all times, too, a la Goldberg.
Yeah.
But,
Right.
Yeah, it just... I'm sounding like an idiot today. I don't know why. Oh, wait a minute. That's every day.
I don't want them waiting for Chris Statlander, though. It's time to take that belt off of Jade.
Yeah. Well, that's if we can get Chris Statlander to stay healthy. That's been her biggest issue.
Yeah.
Is in the last 2 years, I think she's been out more than in.
Twice.
Yeah. I mean, she's had unfortunate luck as of late, but we can only hope she gets better here shortly. Welcome back, everyone. We're now going to get into the fun part. We're going to get right to WWE for Monday Night Raw. In the opening match, it was an Elimination Chamber qualifier. Seth freaking Rollins defeats Chad Gable. Io Sky gets the victory over Candice LeRae. In another Elimination Chamber qualifier, Johnny Gargano defeats Baron Corbin. Rick Boogs makes his return after being injured at WrestleMania from last year and gets the quick victory over The Miz. In yet another Elimination Chamber qualifier, Bronson Reed manhandles Dolph Ziggler. And in the main event, Cody Rhodes defeats Finn Balor. For SmackDown in the Tag Team Championship Contender Final Tournament, Braun Strowman, Ricochet defeats Imperium, which Braun Strowman and Ricochet will face the Usos next week. I believe just for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. For the SmackDown Women's Championship, Charlotte Flair retains against Sonya Deville. The Viking Raiders defeats the Brawling Brutes. And in the main event, the Elimination Chamber qualifier for the women's, Natalya defeats Selena Vega, Shayna Baszler, and Shotzi. And we're going to just kind of hold off on NXT Vengeance Day to the next segment. So why don't we just go ahead and get through our reviews on this one. And this one, we're going to start with Carlos.
So yeah, I love the opening promo for Cody Rhodes. I thought he does a really good job. And again, the man can talk. And again, you see why they're strapping the rocket to him. And again, like we talked about before, like last week, I think it's really important that they show the people from AEW that they come over to WWE, they'll be treated correctly. I still wish they for WrestleMania, you have 2 titles. I wish Sammy was getting to fight Roman at Mania, because I think that WWE shouldn't take for granted when fans put over somebody. And seeing how over, Jay is right now and Sammy is too, I would take that and run with it, and I wouldn't take the fandom for granted. And I don't think the fans are going to turn on Cody, but at the same time, I don't want to see him working against that. That's just my general synopsis for WWE. With Boogs and Carmella, I wish they would have had their returns at the Rumble, especially Carmella. She's coming back from a miscarriage. I think that she deserved that pop, to get at the Royal Rumble. So I'm just kind of taken back as to why they didn't have her come back then. And I'm not really happy with Boogs getting separated from Shinsuke, because I think that was a really cool thing. And again, if they're going to maybe make him and Elias attack team, but again, I just think of Boogs and Pat McAfee and Shinsuke on SmackDown, and it's such an exciting part. And I don't see why you pull him away from Shinsuke, because I just think he's going to be annoying on his own, if I'm being honest. I like Rick Boogs. but he just comes off as a little too annoying for me by himself. Rhea chasing Charlotte feels like a Vince thing to me, if I'm being honest. But at the same time, I think that it's the right move, because I feel like Rhea, you go beat the top person, and that is Charlotte. Even though I would have liked to seen her versus Bianca. Rollins and Gable tore the house down. That was a really fun match. I like the fact that we're going to see the Street Profits in the mix next week. I think that that's a really good thing. I wouldn't mind, honestly, if they turned Jay into a singles, and they turned Bianca's husband, I can't draw the name. They turned both a single. Montez Ford. I wouldn't mind seeing Jimmy Uso and the other guy from the Street Profits become a tag team. I think that'd be kind of a cool storyline. Why not? But again, I think the Street Profits, I think they deserve that. And I think it's really cool. Dawkins, I wouldn't mind seeing Dawkins and Uso as a tag team. Why not? That's be a cool storyline. But I think I'm excited to see them going after the U.S. Elimination Chamber match. I think it was smart to put Gargano in there again, just kind of letting fans see what he can do, and kind of letting fans see, let fans fall in love with the guy, because he's a good wrestler. And I think he does have something to offer the main roster. The one thing for me is there was too many Knock at the Cabin commercials. I felt like way over. And again, it's like one of those things where, like they're already talking like Cinnamon Toast Crunch match. People have been making jokes about it, how they're going to be a sponsor at WrestleMania. But it's like, okay, like, we get that these companies give you a lot of money, but it was too much. Like, there could have been another match for all the times that movie got promoted during Raw. And to me, I feel like the Bloodline, there should have been some kind of Bloodline, thing on Raw. I feel like they were really missing that, and I feel like they kind of took away from the show. I also wish Elimination Chamber was a couple more weeks away. I feel like it's just happening so fast. As far as SmackDown goes, that match between Ricochet, Braun, and Imperium was a lot of fun. I love Imperium. They're definitely one of my top 10. I hope that the SmackDown titles come off of the Usos next week. Maybe, we get to see, Solo and Jimmy lose the titles to them, because I think it'd be just fine having Kevin and Sammy go after the Raw titles. Because I think teams like Imperium, I think teams like the Viking Raiders deserve to have a match at Mania, besides being in like an Andre Giant Battle Royal. So I'd like to see like some titles away from the Usos, just so maybe we get like a fatal 4-way match at Mania. Braun and Ricochet versus Imperium versus the Viking Raiders and another tag team. I think they deserve that. They've carried SmackDown. To me, the Brawling Brutes. I think they've carried SmackDown a lot for this year, and they deserve that. I acknowledge my new tribal chief, Dominic Mysterio. I think he's doing a great job. I thought that was fun, but again, to me, like, I feel like Ray should have went after him and beat his ass. Like, he should have went after him after getting attacked in the back. He didn't really go after him, at the NASCAR. But again, good for WWE to get that crossover. And again, to me, like, that wasn't. I rather just had like that was instead of seeing that all throughout SmackDown. Like, I wish it would have, like, if they're gonna promote Dave's matches, Dave's movie on Raw, it should have just been one segment like that was on SmackDown. Charlotte. Sorry, Vader from Wish, bring it on to you about Dominic. Charlotte and Sonya was a good match. Charlotte is such an improvement over Ronda as champion. It's like night and day. And again, I like Charlotte Flair. Again, maybe she's been shoved down our throats a little bit too much, but at the same time, that was their choice to hot potato the title with her so much. That's how Vince wanted to book things, and that's not her. And I like seeing her get appreciated. Congrats to Natalya on winning a spot in an Elimination Chamber match. If I'm being honest, none of the women are really exciting for me personally. I guess Asuka to fight Bianca, but I got to see more development in that. I do like that Becky's out in there. It makes me think that maybe we're going to get some, good more undercard matches at Mania. I wouldn't mind seeing Becky and Bayley in an Iron Woman's match at Mania. One thing for me too about SmackDown we're on is like, it came out in the sheets this week that Leah's not on TV because it had nothing to do with her. And Triple H, for me, like, work on building the tag team division up more, man. Like, to me, like you should be utilizing these women, and I feel like with SmackDown, they know they're going to have the Usos on. They know they're going to have the Bloodline story coming out there, so they know fans are going to stay attuned to it. So use that time to start building some tag teams, and have Aaliyah on TV, and use those women and just start building some women tag teams, like, girls need friends in their lives, girlfriends. Roman and Sammy, like I already said before, I wish that they wait till Mania, because I think Sammy's earned that thing. And again, I guess we should be grateful that we're getting this with Sammy as it is. But I feel like, getting that at Mania than getting Jay and Jimmy at Mania fighting each other is more appetizing to my fandom than what we're gonna get. So that's all I got for Raw and SmackDown.
All right, Heather, you want to give your take?
After all that, the Seth Rollins and Chad Gable match, I liked that one. That was a good match. I was happy that Seth won. Chad Gable, I used to couldn't stand him, but I'm starting to like him a little bit better. But I like Seth Rollins better. But yeah, I thought it was a really good match, and I'm so over freaking Damage Control. Like, they always got to interfere in all the matches. That matches cannot be like clean wins or nothing. It always has to be interference and all that. I was hoping Candice LeRae would win, but of course Io Sky won because Bayley and Dakota Kai had to interfere. I was glad that Johnny Gargano got the win over Baron Corbin, and I thought it was so funny with Dexter Lumis outside the ring with his axe and putting the axe in JBL's hat. I thought that was hilarious. And the match, it was good to see Rick Boogs back. And then the quick little match with Miz, I thought that was funny. And then the Dolph Ziggler and Bronson Reed match, it was so obvious who was going to win that. Like it just was a mixed match. So, and Cody versus Finn Balor, it was a pretty good match, and I was glad that Cody won. But I kind of like, it's good to see Cody back and everything, and like it was obvious that he was going to win the Royal Rumble, but like all the video packages they kept doing, leading up to his return and all that, kept showing him. It's like it was getting so old. Like by the time he came, I was already over it. I mean, I'm probably in the minority there, but I'm just like, I'm glad to see him back. I'm glad that he got over his injury and everything. But I'm just like, I'm kind of over it already. He just ran it into the ground. And it was obvious that he was going to win the Rumble. And, okay, good, he's going after the title and, all that. But I don't know. I'm just already over it. But I mean, everybody else isn't. And, it's a big deal for all of them. But like I said, I'm probably a minority on that. But okay, that's all I got for Raw. And then on SmackDown, the Ricochet and Braun versus Imperium, I thought was a great match. Ricochet and Braun have been really working good together. Imperium, of course, is an excellent tag team. They really got there and put on a good show. But like I said, Ricochet and Braun have been working really, really good together. I was glad, that they got a win. Over Sonya Deville and Charlotte, like, okay, you've done enough matches, go away, go on to somebody else. It's like, just sick of the repeat matches, and Sonya always, give me a title shot. Go on. You had your chances, go on. Charlotte needs to go on to somebody else. The Brawling Brutes and Viking Raiders, okay, the way the Viking Raiders have come back with this new packaging and all that, and Valhalla, and I just, I don't like it. Of course, they got the win. And then Shayna and Natalya and Shotzi and Zelina for the elimination match. It was good. All of course, as it's supposed to be. And then happy to see that Natalya won. And the ending of SmackDown was just superb. Roman coming out there and Sammy attacking him, spearing him, and all that just made the night. That was the perfect end to the show. So, yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, that was it. Just made my night. I was just hollering at the TV and just yes. So yeah.
Yeah, I think we were hoping you would have a video shot of your reaction seeing Sammy attack Roman.
Oh Oh God, I loved it. But what I didn't understand is when he came out there, they didn't do Roman like I was expecting them to, like they did, at Royal Rumble. They was really like booing him and, F you Roman and all this. When he came out on SmackDown, they were hardly booing him like I expected them to. And a lot of people expected them to be booing him more than that. And so that really confused me right there.
Anyways, I'll get right to mine real quick here. For Raw, I'm a little bit curious as how they went about with doing the elimination qualifiers for a United States Championship match. I somehow think no matter who all they put in the match, Theories is going to somehow still walk out United States Champion, because if some way, somehow Bobby Lashley gets in there, I think Brock Lesnar is going to be obvious to come in and have his way and takes Bobby Lashley out of that match, which I think will end up setting up a Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. I keep thinking they might have that match before it, but it wouldn't make sense at this point, so I really hope that's the direction they're going. As far as the whole damage control bit, I kind of think they're lost on what to do with them, because we keep seeing them in singles matches, and then later in the night, Becky Lynch getting her way with Bayley to get that steel cage match, which I believe is going to take place on this coming Monday Night Raw. So, I don't know, unless they're going to have Becky align with Candice LeRae and Michin, I'm not really sure where that's going to go. So it's kind of a dud issue with all the women involved in that. Cody Rhodes, Finn Balor, I thought the match was actually a pretty good one. It just didn't make sense to have them fight each other when you got Edge and Beth Phoenix returning, and you got Beth Phoenix taking care of the Rhea problem while Edge is laying to waste on the other three guys. So I'm kind of a little, I'm wondering if we're going to see maybe a 6-person match or even a mixed 6-person match going on with those involved. In SmackDown, a little interesting to see how Braun Strowman and Ricochet personally interacted on Twitter, with Braun Strowman calling out all the flippity flippers, but it wasn't a bad team either. I think they had good tag team chemistry. I do wish, though, Imperium would have won that match, because I think it would be interesting to see Imperium take on Bloodline members. The SmackDown Women's Championship, I thought Sonya Deville did a much better job in this match than what she has in the past. I just wish they would kind of do something that makes a little more sense with her, build her up to those types of title matches rather than just making it seem like she needs to be granted a title match. I think they're kind of doing Sonya a little bit dirty. However, the good thing is they had Charlotte retain, because that's going to keep the storyline with her and Rhea really interesting to see if Rhea gets her redemption on Charlotte at WrestleMania. The Viking Raiders, I think they lost their steam when they repackaged them and then ended up losing in a tag team contest to, Hit Row and I can't remember who the other team was. It just drove me nuts. Do you remember that one, Carlos? Oh, I think we lost Carlos. Are you there, Heather?
Wasn't it Legado del Fantasma?
Yes, that's what it was. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Sorry, I was getting some coffee in my body right now.
No, you're good. You're good. No, when they had that 3-way tag match between Legado del Fantasma, Hit Row, and Viking Raiders, and they had Legado del Fantasma. No, it was Hit Row that won that match. I'm just scratching my coconut like, wait a minute. We repackaged the Viking Raiders to become in as dominating brutes. They made
the New Day job to them, too. You had the New Day job to them. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I just don't get it. They totally missed the ball with what they were doing with the Viking Raiders. I just hope maybe somewhere, I don't know, you can't really repackage them now. It's kind of It's kind of like the Dabba-Kato deal, which we'll talk at when we get into Vengeance Day results. Dabba-Kato was booked to be this really strong force until they had Braun Strowman pretty much make him his bitch. It just did no good after that. So, and then the Elimination Chamber match for the women, Natalya obviously was going to be the victor since Elimination Chamber is going to be up there in Canada, so it kind of makes sense. However, I don't see Natalya winning that one. I think someone outside, I think someone from the SmackDown women's roster is going to win, of course, because we got Rhea Ripley now challenging the SmackDown women's champion, Rhea being a Raw talent. It's only going to make sense to have a SmackDown woman go and challenge the Raw women's champion. So, as far as the whole Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns segment there, I thought was good. The only missing element, of course, was Jey Uso. I thought Jey Uso somehow was going to sneak in there and stop the attacks, but it actually ended up being Roman stopping the attack and saying, "Okay, Sami, I want you at Elimination Chamber," and which is going to be a good match. I think they're going to book it to where Sami nearly defeats Roman, but Roman will, of course, get that last finisher in there and take Sami Zayn out. I think we're going to still we're still going to end up seeing Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn team up and take one of the tag titles off the Usos. I think it's pretty clear Cody's going to take the undisputed WWE Universal Championship off Roman. Unless they go the other direction, maybe Sami ends up taking one of the titles off Roman, but I don't see it going that direction as they've already announced it being both titles on the line. So, but it wouldn't be a bad idea either. Did you two have anything else as far as Raw or SmackDown this week?
The one thing I thought was cool that I wanted to throw out there is I think that is cool that they actually utilize the last four women of the Rumble being in the Elimination Chamber match. I think that was really cool. And again, that's the kind of storylines that I like seeing is seeing like those women getting to just utilizing that. I think that was really cool thing they did for the women's Elimination Chamber match. And for me, like the one thing I want to say is I'm not looking forward to the Bray Wyatt Uncle Howdy story whatsoever. And I don't want to shit on it because I know there's a lot of our friends love it, but it's not my cup of tea. But again, we don't have to like everything. But just right away, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be another 6 months slow build thing, isn't it? And I'm not into it. Not at all.
No. And I want to point out a comment my wife posted in the chat here.
I just saw that too, yeah.
Yeah. So Sarah K. Hoppy, wink, wink.
She got a picture up too. I like it. She got a picture up there.
Yeah, she's showing off now.
Yeah, she is showing that belt.
She stole my championship. Damn her.
I can see her pinning your ass for it. What are you talking about?
Maybe.
I made you submit.
We're not going to talk about that.
You see how his voice changed really quick, Heather?
Yeah.
There we go. But anyway, Sarah K. Hoppy writes a comment. You don't think they will let Natalya win in Heart Country? I don't think so. I think they need somebody who's younger and not necessarily younger, but they need a rising star to challenge Bianca, to be honest. I think Natalya is doing a great job being a coach to all the talent that we have now. Although I wouldn't mind seeing one more title run out of Natalya. I just don't know if right now is the time for it. I would like to see it to go to someone like Raquel Rodriguez. Who else is in that match? I forgot.
Asuka. I think Asuka.
Yeah,
Asuka.
You got Asuka. You could have Asuka against Bianca. You could have Liv against Bianca. The only problem is, do we have a heel in that in that Elimination Chamber yet?
No. Well, is Asuka face or heel? I don't know.
No, I take that back.
Oh, Nikki Cross.
Nikki Cross is a heel. I just don't see Nikki Cross coming out.
And so is Piper Niven. Piper Niven is too. She's badass. I wouldn't mind seeing her win, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to depend also on the result of the qualifier on Raw this week too. So, yeah, I think we're going to have a lot of interesting options. So, yeah, I think we'll eventually, I don't know, I think we'll eventually figure out who could be the winner after we see who wins Raw. But I'm thinking we're going to probably more than likely see a SmackDown talent win that Elimination Chamber match. My gut is they'll probably either go with Raquel or they'll go with Liv.
No,
I hope Liv.
I hope Liv too. And just to touch on what Heather said too, I don't really think Triple H is doing Cody any favors with how they're doing all these vignettes, and also like they're talking about, I think on the Grapsody podcast on YouTube too, like having him come out number 30 was a mistake too. Like, they should have had him come out and fight for it more than having him come on number 30. Right? Hell, and I hope Triple H isn't trying to undercover sabotage him, because I think that'd be a mistake.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't think he's doing him any favors whatsoever.
Well, and that's one thing William pointed out last week is they should have had Cody out much earlier than number 30, because, of course, you saw Finn point that, or not Finn, but ex-con Dom point that out on Raw at the beginning segment this week, how Cody was gifted number 30, which obviously that's not the case. I understand why they put him at 30, but if they really wanted to make Cody's story look really good, I think they should have had him enter in the middle of the Rumble than anything. It was just way too obvious. Plus, I believe that is the first time in Rumble history we had back-to-back winners at the number 30 position, because Brock Lesnar the year before was number 30 and won that, so it was kind of a little weird. I think that was I believe that is actually the first time in history that's happened, so I'll have to go back and check that now. I'm kind of interested.
Maybe they could do like a storyline where Cody puts his Mania spot on the line at Elimination Chamber.
Yeah. I think they kind of way overdone it with the vignettes. I would have waited till it was a little closer to the Rumble, or had Cody.
Well, then doing them afterwards is kind of like, really, you're still doing them? Like, stop it already. You're not doing again. Are they kind of undercover and trying to sabotage them?
I think they're gonna have the John Cena effect if they keep doing that, and you don't want to do that with Cody. And what's scary is the amount of pop that Seth Rollins is getting and Sammy is getting. I really hope that they're going to plan this a little more careful with the Elimination Chamber with Roman and Sammy. To me,
I think they need to look at Rollins and look at how long it took them to get him back to where he's at now.
Yeah.
And they need to knock it off with Cody already, because it took Rollins a long time to get back to where he's at.
Yeah, for sure. All right, do you two have anything else to throw in there?
Just go Sammy.
Hey, Heather.
Huh?
Acknowledge us.
Acknowledge
put your ones in the air, not the middle one.
All right, sorry for that. We had to take a small little break, for some of the platforms to get their bills in. So we're going to start talking about at WWE NXT Vengeance Day. They had their premium live event last night as of this recording. We'll get right to the results. For the opening match, the NXT North American Championship, champion Wesley retains against Dijak. For the NXT Women's Tag Team Championship, the new champions Fallon Henley and Kiana James defeats Katana Chance and Caden Carter. Carmelo Hayes gets a clean sweep victory 2-0 on Apollo Crews in the 2 out of 3 falls match. In the Fatal 4-Way for the NXT Tag Team Championship, we have new champions Gallus defeating The New Day, Pretty Deadly, and Chase University. The triple threat for the NXT Women's Championship, Roxanne Perez retains and overcomes the odds as she defeats both Gigi Dolan and JC Jane. And in the main event, the steel cage for the NXT Championship, Braun Breaker retains over Grayson Waller. And why don't we go ahead and start off with Heather on what she thought
Well, to begin with, the first match, Wesley versus Dijak, that was just a killer match. Just all around, I just enjoyed the match completely. Everybody was talking about what a great match it was, and I was glad that Wesley retained because he really deserved it. The Fallon Henley and Kiana James versus Chance and Carter, it was a good match. It's just kind of like Fallon Henley and Kiana James together is just wild because they hated each other, and now they're working together, and they work together pretty good. It was just wild that they got the championships, with them just being a tag team, just now, really. And Carmella Hayes and Apollo, that was a good match. And Carmella got the 2 out of 3 falls with no problem at all. And so he won, and sitting from way at the end of the show when Braun kept his belt. And Carmelo came out, so setting up for Carmelo versus Braun. I think it's stand and deliver, is what they said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then the 4-way tagged him up for the NXT. Excuse me, the NXT Championship. Gallus won, which I was kind of expecting that with them coming back in with their presence and their strong presence and all that. I was sure they would win anyway. Was hoping the New Day would retain, but I just didn't think they would. And Gigi Dolan and JC Jane versus Roxanne. It was an okay match. I don't really like Toxic Attraction. They're bitches, excuse me.
Wow.
Jeez. No, don't sugarcoat this, Heather. Will you just be blunt?
But, I was glad that Roxanne retained. I really like her, her and the Prodigy, Booker T, teaching her and all the stuff that he did. I'm glad that she's the champion. And Bron Breakker and Grayson Waller. I cannot stand Grayson Waller. He's an ass. The match was
blasphemy.
The match, just for being a steel cage match, it just didn't seem to really be as brutal as I thought it would be, which of course they made it where you couldn't climb out of the cage, you couldn't win, be pinfall or submission. But a couple of spots, was pretty good and all that, but it just wasn't really all that. But then Braun retains, and of course, like I said, it's set up Braun versus Carmelo. So yeah, it was a pretty good show. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would because me and my love-hate relationship with NXT. But yeah, I enjoyed the show.
Carlos, do I dare ask for your review? Are you going to be as beat around the bush on this one?
Wow, I mean, Jesus. Actually, I thought this was a good week for NXT. Before we get into Vengeance Day, I wanted to shout out the regular NXT program on Tuesday. I thought it was a really good show. The Indus versus the
Creed brothers.
Creed brothers. Thank you. Mind farts. I feel like this was a really good show again, and it was a really good week for Chad Frost. I think. I think they did a really good show building into the program. I thought it was the really best NXT in a long time. With Vengeance Day, again, shout out to Dijak who broke his finger at the end of the match and was still sitting there just chilling on the mat with a broken finger. I was like, yikes.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal to see.
That was brutal, but I was like, I was at work, and so I didn't take my lunch and break as early as I did for Royal Rumble, but I took my lunch right at the time of the tag team match, and then so when I got home, I got to watch the opening match, and I mean that opening match was amazing. I mean, spoiler alert: Wesley's gonna be number 1 on our top 10 this week. I feel like again, I feel like Wesley benefits from having Chad Frost around because I think that he coaches him on how to sell as a small man. Because he just did a really good job this week of selling for Dijak, and again, he just made everything look brutal. And again, I think it's good to have a coach and a leader who's a small wrestler like you are, because I think that he's benefiting from him just like Carmelo is. And for as much as people give, Carmelo and that relationship, I think, there's obviously a relationship between Wesley and Chad Frost too. And I think he did a really good job of making Dijak look like $1 million. I wanted Dijak to get the win, but he didn't. I didn't really understand Tony D'Angelo and Sachs coming out to interfere in the match. That was the only thing that was kind of a negative for me. Again, unless it's Tony D'Angelo is going to be the one to dethrone him at Stand and Deliver. But again, it doesn't make sense because Tony's lost to both those guys already, so I was kind of like thrown off by that. The women's tag match. Again, that was like a nice throwback to like 80s and 90s, like you're talking about before, having like a heel and a face team up to be a tag team. And again, for me, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, I think I'm okay with the loss. That means that Chance and Carter are getting the long overdue call up to the main roster. I think that they, I see them as I see them as being fun opponents, like the underdogs fighting the uncrowned future tag team champions Ronda and Shayna. So for me, like, I'm cool with this match ending if it means that they're getting the call to the main roster. I didn't really care for the Apollo Crews match and Carmella match. I feel like it was the worst match they've had. It was just kind of slow to me. But I love their entrances though. I thought that was a really cool entrance for Carmelo and a really cool entrance for Apollo. And again, for me, he is him. Like Carmelo says, he's definitely going to be the guy. I'd bet the house on him beating Braun Breaker at Stand and Deliver. But again, I just thought the match was kind of slow. The NXT tag titles, I didn't really like seeing. I didn't really like the tag team change to me. Like, I want to hopefully, if they're not going to utilize New Day on WrestleMania, and I don't really see them having a road to WrestleMania, I kind of wish they would have just kept the tag titles on them until Stand and Deliver. Why not keep it on them and sell a few more tickets? I wasn't really a fan of that title change switch. And again, because to me, like, get it back to the main roster, but to me, I would have had Indus beat them for the tag titles and not Gallus. A great win for Roxanne Perez, and again, I thought that was a really good way to utilize Toxic Attraction. And again, for me, like, I think the theme of the show to me was kind of showing, to me, I hope it is, the theme is who these people who lost are going to be people that are going to be called to the main roster. Because I think Toxic Attraction made Roxanne look good in that win. Again, she beat 2 women. And I thought that was a fun way to kind of utilize those women on the way out the door. But I do think it's time for Toxic Attraction to move up to the main roster. And again, the main event, I thought that was a really good win for Braun Breaker. I think Grayson Waller did his thing. I don't see him being NXT champion. I know that I've read on all the different websites how they are all a big fan of Grayson Waller. To me, I do think Chad Frost is going to come out of retirement and give him one last match, because if you saw him interrupt the NXT post show, I think we might get Chad Frost versus Grayson Waller at NXT Stand and Deliver. Who knows? But again, to me, I feel like Grayson Waller is getting the call up. And I think after that, I think after Mania, based on what we saw last night, I think we see Braun Breaker, Grayson Waller, Katana, Chance, and Carter get called up. Toxic Attraction, Indy, Zoe Starks, and then I see Pretty Deadly also getting the call up as well. But I thought it was really good. Again, it started off really good and it ended well. The middle was kind of but it was a good showing for them. And again, it was just really great to see them in front of a crowd that big and out of the Performance Center. And I'm really glad that those people showed up to see a good card for them. Again, kudos.
Yeah, I think this was one hell of a premium live event for the NXT brand. Well, I mentioned earlier before we recorded, I loved every match except the steel cage match. They started off really good before they got in the cage with attacking each other. But I think it kind of got a little too boring in some ways. I do like the fact that right at the tail end where they finally decided to go home, having Waller basically tell Braun Breaker, hey, just finish me. And we saw that hellacious spear he gave Waller right there to give him that 1, 2, 3. Other than that, sometimes when you do change the stipulations of a steel cage match where it's a pinfall submission only way to win, it kind of takes away from the heel. But I also understand you didn't want to get that cheap heel win either. Especially when you got MJF over at AEW as their world champion. I think they would have got the criticism if they would have had Grayson Waller take the championship off Braun. I think the better direction to go right now, like you said, I think Carmelo is the person to take that championship off Braun, and I think it's time for Braun to step up and go to the main roster. I'm not really going to break down anything else except for seeing Dabba-Kato return at the tail end there of the 2 out of 3 falls match with Apollo Crews and Carmelo Hayes. We eventually see Dabba-Kato try to, well, not try, but he did stop an interference from Trick Williams. But after the match, you just saw the reaction on his face where you knew he was going to turn on Apollo. And it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that storyline, whether it's Dabba-Kato really upset that Apollo Crews went to NXT and not bring him with him, or who knows. It's going to definitely play out, but I hope they can somehow rebound the Dabba-Kato character there in NXT, because, again, when they did the Raw Underground, they did Dabba-Kato no justice by having Braun Strowman make his way with him. It kind of really weakened it. In fact, if you ever listened to Busted Open Radio, you heard, what the hell's his name? Just blew my mind.
Dave LaGreca?
Yes, thank you. Dave LaGreca. Oh, man, he went off on a tangent on Dabba-Kato. He basically just told him, don't ever show up on TV again, you fucknut, all this. I'm like, whoa. I mean, okay, I can understand a little displeasure with the character, but I don't think that was necessarily all on Dabba-Kato either. I mean, I kind of think that was on WWE for not having the guy ready either, so. But they moved that character way too fast and then kind of took a shit on him, and that wasn't fair to Dabba-Kato either. It looks like we do have a request for a mic here, and I'm going to give it to him, hopefully. All right, and I just gave the request to Aaron Martin there. Aaron, did you have something to say about Vengeance Day or any of the programming this week?
From everything that's happened, from what you just said, last night, it was kind of confusing that Dabba-Kato would even show up, try to help, but then turn on Crews because that would be the case of why did he do what he did? Maybe because he wasn't called up, or maybe you were just dead weight that he used you to make himself the guy when he was Intercontinental Champion. And then you will get upset just because he didn't call you up from NXT. Whatever the storyline, they're trying to make sense out of it. I don't know. I mean, you got to give it something perspective, but what is the point? And then you look at what the match with Braun Breaker, Grayson Waller, they try to put something to deliver, and then Wade Braun Breaker straight up spear Grayson Waller like this was his last time being here. Because I thought to myself, this would be a time that Grayson Waller brings all this heat to say, hey, I told you I was the guy that's going to outsmart Braun Breaker, but they didn't pull the trigger. They said, no. Let's give Carmelo Hayes a chance. You see what he's been doing lately? He is him. And that's how it is. That's how it's going to be. Because when he shoots, he don't miss. I just like the guy's gimmick. I like what he brings to the table. From breakout star, 2-time NXT North American champion. And some people would say, why he's not in the main roster? Because they want to make him the world champion NXT. Then maybe they might pull the card and say, hey, come into the main roster after you get done being champion. Because Braun Breaker's about to leave sooner than we think. And then you see the tag team champions. You see now Fale and Kenna James winning it, which I did not expect happen. But anything is possible with somebody that don't get along. Got to figure out a way to work together. So we're going to see Katana Chance and Ken Carter being in the main roster go after the tag team titles as well. And then you look at the other tag teams. New Day is no longer champion. You got Gulag, who are now tag team champions. At the time, they were suspended and felt like maybe it was time for them to come back and give them the titles to see how legit they can be because of who they are from coming out of the UK. And then Roxy Perez, she as a survivor against Toxic Attraction. I just felt like how they try to do it just because of what they did to their leader and thinking, hey, let's give these two a chance to jaw each other, trying to figure out a way to beat Roxy, but that was not the plan. They wanted to use Roxy to make sure that she becomes a sole survivor, that anything is possible. And now we're going to wait to see who's her next opponent that's willing to go after her for the title. And looking at the NXT Vengeance Day, I gotta say it was pretty good. To me, I would give this rank somewhere from 1 out of 10 to like from like a 6 or a 7, I would say. I mean, they did something, but just a little more to it. I mean, it's like when you look at the matches, some were good and some that it's not good, but they tried, you know. I give it to him.
Yeah, and I respect that. Like I said, I still think it was one of their better ones in quite some time. A lot of surprises did take place that I didn't even expect. Like I said, Delicado, that was on nobody's radar. Fallon Henley, Kiana James, I don't think anyone was expecting them to dethrone and end the streak for Katana Chance and Caden Carter. I think they mentioned they were the longest reigning women's tag team champions, even on the WWE side. So, I mean, that's a big accomplishment they should hang their heads high on. Not hang their heads, but hold their heads high on.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, but other than that, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It was a pretty decent premium live event for what it was.
Mm-hmm. And now you have to look at the other tag teams and thinking, now Alba Fire, who's now alliance with somebody that she had a match with that had a bit of issues with, and that's Ida Dawn. And it's like, okay, I'll see what they're trying to do here. But let's see how this will really work. Because these two have history. And now that they went from bitter enemies to now a partnership, you think to yourself, this might be a chance they could take the titles away for them quick. If people in the back want to. Because let's see how this goes first before they go after the titles. Let's see how that goes.
Yeah, and I think that was, after watching that last night, the first thing I thought was, I think they're just going to have Fallon Henley and Kiana James basically just be what they call the
interim champions.
/transitional champions.
Yeah, interim, yeah, transitional.
They're just going to hold it until they have a better team in place. So, and I think that's where pretty much Aaron hit it right on the head. I think we're going to see the team of Isla Dawn and Alba Fire take those championships off Fallon and Kiana.
Yeah, I mean, we just not feeling the tag team that we did not expect. I didn't expect it myself. And then from looking at other matches that we're seeing, and now that whatever happens Tuesday night, now that ones that's retained and others that's now changed, we're gonna have to see what these tag teams, both men and the women's division, of how they're gonna make this tag team division something interesting that can deliver and make sure that it keeps pushing and pushing until we see new tag teams that we can be impressed by. So we'll see what happens.
And I think part of this too that we're seeing that with this thing, and again what I was talking about earlier is I think I saw online where Triple H, and now that that's him and Sean running things together, you're gonna have more time for if they're gonna call somebody up, they're being given more of a heads up. So I think that this is the start of seeing these people get called up, like a Grayson Waller, or like a Katana and like a Chance and Carter, like a Pretty Deadly. And I think now you're going to see them kind of get another shot, maybe at Send and Deliver, and they'll lose again and then get the call up. So it's kind of giving Chad Frost enough time to tie storylines, And to me, I think a fun and exciting storyline for Grayson Waller would be why not have him fight Chad Frost again, like a Stand and Deliver, and then if he wins, he gets to go to the main roster, and he gets to get away from him. So I think this is just a way of them tying up storylines and knowing who they're going to lose more. And I think this is going to build into what we're going to see in April, which is going to be their big card, So again, I think it's all good for everybody. I think it's going to be a win-win.
And it's time for our top 10s, and it's going to be an interesting one, I'm sure, for all of us this week. We're just going to go ahead and read our entire top 10s per person. So, Heather, why don't you go ahead and start off with your 10 leading up to your number 1?
Okay, number 10, I put Apollo Crews. Number 9, Roxanne Perez. Number 8, Christopher Daniels. Number 7, Brian Cage. Number 6, Takeshita. Number 5, Heyman Adam Page. Number 4, John Moxley. Number 3, Darby Allin. Number 2, Carmelo Hayes. And number 1, Wesley.
Awesome. And Carlos, why don't you go ahead and go with yours?
So my number 10 was Roosh. Number 9 was Darby Allin. Number 8 was Jade Cargill. Number 7 was Chad Gable. Number 6 was The Elite. Number 5 was Charlotte Flair. Number 4 was Seth Rollins. Number 3 was Dijak. Number 2 was Roxana Perez. And my number 1 also was Wesley.
Awesome. And going with mine, at number 10, and I'm so sorry, Heather, I put Jon Moxley. Number 9, Fallon Henley and Kiana James. My number 8, Sonya Deville. Number 7, Konosuke Takeshita. 6, Darby Allin. 5, Samoa Joe. My number 4 went to Wesley. Number 3, Jade Cargill. 2, Roxanne Perez. And my number 1 went to Carmelo Hayes. And while we're at it, if anybody else has a top 10, you're welcome to go ahead and cue up your microphone. It was definitely an interesting week of wrestling for sure. So 1 second here, as I'm now granting a request to Lloyd here. I think we got him now. Hello,
What's
Lloyd.
going on, guys?
How's it going?
Going all right. What about yourselves?
Doing great. Do you have anything on this week's programming?
This week was interesting week. It wasn't a very good week, but we had if the storytelling wouldn't have been there between Roman and Sammy this week, I don't think we would have had anything good here. Especially for SmackDown. SmackDown, it's like we got, I don't know, Strowman and Ricochet. I don't know what they're doing there. The best thing WWE's got right now is the story being told between the bloodline. Because me, I'm a story guy. I'm not one that I don't like a match basically for no reason. I want to know why this match is happening. I'm one that I don't just want to throw 2 random guys in there and they have a match just to be having a match. But that's just my personal opinion. And I think AEW does too much of that. They do too much of the random thrown togetherness. But it is what it is. But last night's show was all right. Takeover, or they're not takeovers anymore. Last night was all right. I don't know. We only had 2 title changes. I thought for sure Dijak was going to win the North American title. I don't know how he broke his finger. I don't know what spot did it. But yeah, Braun Breaker retained. I thought for sure they were going to let Grayson Waller go over, and then when I found out that it was no escape and the only way to win was by pinfall or submission, I figured Braun was going to keep it. Now, do they go the route of Braun beating Carmelo, or do they let Braun retain after Stand and Deliver, and maybe he come to the main roster as NXT champion and vacate the title? Who knows? But yeah, my week was pretty much wrapped up there. We got the Elimination Chamber for the U.S. title. That's interesting. U.S. title Elimination Chamber. Dynamite, I don't know. I didn't think Dynamite was all that great this week. That's pretty much it.
Thank you for coming on and expressing those. It's glad to have you on here too. So, I think you followed me.
I think you followed me, and you've been in one of my spaces, I think.
Yeah, I try to get into a lot of the other wrestling podcast spaces as much as I can. Been kind of a little tied up this last month and a half with a new position at my job, so I'm trying to make my rounds with everyone still and all that. In fact, I just followed you on my personal account now, so... but yeah, cool. Glad to have you aboard and look forward to talking to you more here in the near future, so...
All right, thank you.
All right, Aaron, did you have anything more to talk about, or?
Yeah, because for what he was just talking about, from looking at what's going on in the main roster, main brand that's going on, you now see that the bloodline is falling apart just a little bit because of what Sammy did to Roman. You really started to think that Sammy was one of them, but he wasn't. Because ever since Kevin Owens came in the picture, he couldn't do it. He cared about him too much, even though he said his friendship was over. But he knew that being involved with Kevin Owens, he did what he did. And yeah, you got your title match. But we all know he's not going to do what he thinks he's going to do. It's going to be, because word is getting out that even if he don't win, he and Kevin Owens will get after those tag team titles. And whatever Jey Uso is at right now, he's not in his right mind because he trusted him. Because of everything that happened for those months. He didn't trust Sammy, and it backfired on him. because wherever he is, his mind is like dark cloud, and they got a match next week with the tag titles on the line Friday night. And you look at Raw, you see Rhea Ripley now. To me, I would love for Rhea Ripley to be a champion at WrestleMania because of what she's done ever since she joined the Judgment Day. She's more dangerous than ever, and some would compare to her to the ninth wonder of the world, China. God rest her soul, because knowing what she has done lately from the UK to the NXT to the WWE, she has shown that she is more worthy of being the face of this company now that she's going to get Charlotte Flair. Maybe this is her time to finally slay the queen that she couldn't do when she lost to her years ago. This is her chance to prove that she's worth every minute. Everybody loves Rhea Ripley. Because to me, anything is possible for somebody that has failed to adapt to what they went through. And now that she has a revenge plan to give out to Charlotte Flair, maybe this is her time now. Because if you don't believe me, if they don't believe that, then you're looking at the wrong picture. Because everybody should believe that this is Rhea Ripley's time, that she should be the SmackDown Women's Champion, that she can make the women's division feel like this is the best thing for them. Like give Rhea Ripley a chance to win the title at WrestleMania, to have her moment, to be worth something. Because Charlotte Flair being back and getting the title, okay, she can do what she wants. But I think they're doing this for a chance to see Rhea Ripley get an opportunity. So, like I said, give Rhea Ripley a chance to be the SmackDown Women's Champion and make her moment shine at WrestleMania.
All right. Heather, Carlos, did you have anything else to add?
I don't.
Carlos might be on his way to work here. Or at work right now. So
Yeah, I added like all you guys. Aaron's been in a few of my spaces already. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you have under your podcast account. I'm sure you have John Carlos. I just followed him. I just followed Heather. So like I followed everybody. So yeah, we're good.
awesome. Cool. Yeah, looking forward to talking with you in the future. And like everyone else, we always welcome all wrestling fans to come on and join us at any time we do our spaces. So we appreciate.
And I mean, I'm not just like a WWE fan. I'm not an AEW fan. I'm a wrestling fan.
Yep.
So it's like, if it's good, I'm gonna say it's good. If it's bad, I'm gonna say it's bad.
No, and that's your duty as a wrestling fan. I mean, that's basically what our platform is about, is giving our reviews. You know, we're all different in how we see everything. We don't always agree 100%, but that's the platform we build here, is to be, very respectful of everyone's opinions, and there's no wrong opinion. That's the beauty of being a wrestling fan here, is you can like whatever you want, and none of us are going to judge you for it. It's just everybody has different taste. Carlo?
But I don't. What I don't like though is tribalism, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not an AEW tribalism, WWE tribalism. I'm a wrestling fan. Okay, so like I said, how AEW had the stupid thing happening of they didn't explain why, like CM Punk and the Elite. We all know why. But for like storyline kayfabe purposes, why they didn't explain why they were stripped of their titles and all this, and they didn't explain where the Elite went, and just like now how WWE is not explaining how the tag team titles, even though they're unified, are being defended separately. How like either way, it doesn't make any sense. Explain to me how this is possible if they are unified.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, they never really went into detail why they all of a sudden have been trying to defend them as the separate brands. But I think deep down we know that it's coming down to, hey, the networks want their championships back, because, I can imagine USA and Fox are having kittens about, hey,
I'm sure
we want our separate champions, but they never really did a real great storytelling as to, why we're now going to finally separate them. And that's the problem when you do unifications on titles like that, because yeah, it's cool that you're unifying them, but unless you're sticking to like a one channel company, it's not making any sense to unify them. And I think it's now kind of backfired on WWE a little bit, because before this happened, Fox wanted Brock Lesnar as their guy, and USA wanted Bray Wyatt as their guy, and it turned out the talents wanted the exact opposite. and so
Right.
and so now everything's kind of a mess. But I think WWE is kind of slowly trying to put the pieces back together now, with Hunter being in charge, and I'm hoping.
I'll say Vince left us with. Let's be honest here. I don't know if your show is a PG show or not. I don't know. Usually, whenever I do my spaces, it's not.
Well, apparently you haven't listened to Heather lately, so yeah, we're not PG.
Okay, well, basically Vince left us with a clusterfuck. All right, and Triple H is trying to go back and fix all the dumb shit that Vince McMahon fucked up. But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, but the way they should have done it. The way they should have done it, and this is just, I'm not a booker, I'm not a writer, I've never worked on that end of the business, so I really don't know what goes into doing this, but as a fan, as somebody that's been watching my whole life, I'm looking at it from a perspective of, okay, well, maybe the route they should have gone would be like Adam Pearce say, look, guys, I'm tired of you guys taking Monday Night Raw hostage, I'm tired of you guys coming in here trying to hostile takeover, and then they could have went that way of explaining why the titles are separate instead of just, oh yeah, this is going to be for these titles. I don't know.
Yeah, the build-up could definitely be much better. I mean, a little more detailed, I guess I should say. And that's where I think they just lack a little bit in detailing. And on that note, we're getting a little desperate for being out of time here, so we're going to get right to the closing credits. Thank you to Lipson for hosting our podcast and getting us on every available platform there is. Also want to say you can go to our website, www.wrestlingfansinsight, insight spelled INCITE.com. You can go to there, listen to all of our podcast episodes, and we also have links to all your favorite platforms, whether it's iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Good Pods, Ghana, Deezer, Boomplay, and YouTube, and much more. You can also go to our group page on Facebook, the Fans of Pro Wrestling, and interact with us there. But we also are on Twitter. Be sure to look up our show notes here, where you can find all of our Twitter handles. And more importantly, you can also leave us a voicemail or text at 385-367-4772. And unfortunately, we did not have enough time to do our shout-outs, and we'll try to get back on track for that next week. For Heather, Carlos, and myself, thank you for tuning in to our podcast. Once again, we will be back next Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, here on Twitter Space, and we look forward to seeing you then. Have a great week, everyone.